The Charles River separates Boston from the numerous suburbs that lie on the other side. First among these has got to be Cambridge, which is just across the river from Back Bay and the Fens. Let's park the car in Harvard Yard and look around a bit. Actually, Harvard Yard is a very good place to begin our tour of Cambridge, as life in the city of 100,000 seems to revolve around its academic institutions. The mother of all colleges, of course, is Harvard itself, the oldest university in the United States. Founded in 1636 and referred to simply as the New College, this institution was renamed in 1639 after John Harvard, an English clergyman who had come to Boston just a couple of years before. When Harvard died, he left half of his estate, some 779 pounds, to the college, and his name went on to become synonymous with quality education for centuries to come. Talk about your good investments. There's a lot to see here on campus, including the venerable Holden Chapel, built in 1734, and the Fogg Art Museum, which, with the connected Bush-Reisinger Museum, comprises one of the most extensive university collections in the world. There are two more museums within walking distance from the Fogg Museum, and both are worth a closer look. First, there's the Harvard Museum of Natural History, which is a fascinating peek into matters vegetable, animal, and mineral. Indeed, this one museum is actually three distinct galleries. First, the kids will love the bones of dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures on display in the Museum of Comparative Zoology. Then, visitors can stroll through the comprehensive collection at the Mineralogical and Geological Museum, where they can get a close encounter with rocks of the terrestrial and extraterrestrial kind. Finally, probably the most popular part of the museum is the display of the famous Blaschka flowers and plants. These are actually not flowers at all, but amazing reproductions made of delicate hand-blown glass, which simply have to be seen to be believed. Your paid admission to the Natural History Museum also buys your way into the adjacent Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. When it was founded way back in 1866, the Peabody was the first museum in the Americas to devote itself completely to anthropology. In the days since then, it has amassed a collection of several million artifacts, covering native cultures from all around the globe. From the Pacific Northwest to pre-Columbian Latin America, to all points in between and beyond, the Peabody has been bringing the richest finds of the ancient world back to Cambridge for over 150 years. Back toward the Charles River is the city's other major university, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. While its name might not have quite the Ivy League cachet of the older Harvard, MIT is every bit as world-class as its Cambridge neighbor. This institution has 10,000 graduate and undergraduate students, and its alumni include nearly 30 Nobel Prize winners. Though its football team won't be playing in any bowl games anytime soon, MIT consistently ranks among the top 10 universities in the United States. And besides, how many other schools have cheerleaders who can do differential equations? Moving back through Cambridge, we've got two more spots to hit before we leave town and head out into the Massachusetts countryside for a bit. First is Harvard Square, which is one of Cambridge's most popular destinations. Located right near the Harvard campus, this lively area is filled with shops, restaurants, and theaters, and always teems with students, visitors, and street musicians. If we walk down Brattle Street off Harvard Square, we get to our last stop in Cambridge, the Longfellow National Historical Site. This house is actually historically significant for two separate reasons. During the Revolution, it served as headquarters for George Washington throughout the nearly year-long siege of Boston. Then, in the 19th century, it was the home of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who lived here for 50 years. Probably the most popular poet of his day, Longfellow was known for his stirring narrative epics like Song of Hiawatha, Evangeline, and The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. And speaking of the 18th of April in 75, Paul Revere's destination that night was here, the hamlet of Lexington, just about 10 miles outside Cambridge. More specifically, Revere was headed to this home to warn fellow patriots John Hancock and Sam Adams that the British were indeed on the march, looking to uncover munitions and arrest Hancock and Adams. By the next morning, the colonial militia, the so-called Minutemen, had gathered here at the Buckman Tavern and prepared for battle. They met the British for the first time at what is now known as the Lexington Battle Green, where a minor skirmish broke out, leaving 8 of the colonials dead. As the Patriots fell back and regrouped, the Redcoats seized the Monroe Tavern to act as their headquarters. Later in the day, a revitalized and reinforced militia met the British head-to-head here at the Old North Bridge in Concord, and a much fiercer Donnybrook ensued. Finally, the defeated British were forced to retreat back to Boston, and thus began the American Revolution. The battlefield and the bridge are both part of Minuteman National Historical Park, right near the center of Concord. Though it played a major role in the American Revolution, Concord's historical significance didn't stop there. Somehow, in the 19th century, this rustic little town became home to literary giants. Ralph Waldo Emerson lived here, right near the Concord Museum, and Emerson's grandfather built the Old Manse not far away, where Nathaniel Hawthorne once lived, and Henry David Thoreau tended the garden when he wasn't hanging around nearby Walden Pond or busy getting arrested for tax evasion. All 3 writers, as well as Louisa May Alcott, are buried at Concord's Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Hawthorne fans will definitely want to make the 30-mile drive east to the town of Salem, where they can tour the House of the Seven Gables, a colonial mansion made famous by the author's 1851 novel of the same name. Although the link between this particular house and Hawthorne's fictional setting is perhaps a bit tenuous, it's nevertheless a fascinating peek into the past. The city of Salem itself, a coastal town of 40,000 just north of Boston, is another popular destination for visitors to New England. Beyond the connection to native son Nathaniel Hawthorne, Salem is also home to the Peabody Essex Museum, which is the oldest museum in the United States, dating from 1799. But of course, when it comes to Salem, there's one part of local history that has given the town worldwide notoriety: the infamous witch trials of 1692. The story of that notorious time is retold at the city's most popular attraction, the Salem Witch Museum. Inside, visitors travel back through time to the hysteria that overcame this small village over the course of a year. By the time it was over, 19 villagers, mostly young women, have been executed. Through images, sounds, and the words of the colonists themselves, the stories come alive again.
The devil but speaks through the mouth of his servant. This man is guilty and shall hang.
After the show, there's a guided tour of the rest of the museum that explores the world of witchcraft, real and imagined, and ends with a cautionary message about witch hunts, past and present. It's a chilling episode of Massachusetts history, and it's one that visitors don't soon forget.